Charles Babbage, a name that echoes through the annals of computing history. A visionary who dreamed of machines that could calculate and compute long before the advent of modern computers. His inventions, though never fully realized in his lifetime, laid the groundwork for the digital age we live in today. Hello everyone! Welcome to another exciting episode of Speak English Fluently. I'm your host, David, and today we're diving into the fascinating life and work of Charles Babbage, often referred to as the father of the computer. Before we begin, if you're new here and want to improve your English while learning about interesting topics, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Now let's jump into our conversation with John and Emily, who will explore the legacy of this remarkable inventor.
Hey Emily, I'm really excited about today's topic. Charles Babbage is such an intriguing figure in the history of technology.
Hi John, I couldn't agree more. I've heard his name mentioned in many computer science classes, but I'm eager to learn more about him. Where should we start?
Well, let's begin with the basics. Charles Babbage was born on December 26, 1791, in London, England. He was a mathematician, philosopher, and mechanical engineer.
Wow, that's quite a combination of disciplines. It seems like he had a diverse range of interests. What was his educational background like?
Babbage was fortunate to receive a good education. He attended several schools before entering Trinity College, Cambridge in 1810. He was largely self-taught in mathematics, which is quite impressive considering his later achievements.
Self-taught in mathematics? That's remarkable. I'm curious, what motivated him to focus on calculating machines?
Great question, Emily. Babbage's interest in calculating machines stemmed from his frustration with errors in mathematical tables. These tables were crucial for navigation, science, and engineering at the time, but they were prone to human errors.
I see. So, he wanted to find a way to eliminate these errors?
Exactly. Babbage believed that if he could design a machine to perform calculations, it would greatly reduce errors and save time. This led him to develop his first major invention, the difference engine.
The difference engine? That sounds intriguing. Can you explain what it was supposed to do?
Of course. The difference engine was designed to automatically calculate polynomial functions and print the results. It was meant to be a mechanical calculator that could produce mathematical tables without human intervention.
That's fascinating. Was it successful?
Well, that's where things get interesting. Babbage began work on the difference engine in the 1820s, but he never completed a full-scale functional version during his lifetime.
Oh, that's disappointing. What happened?
There were several factors. The project was incredibly complex for its time, requiring precision engineering that was pushing the limits of what was possible in the 19th century. Additionally, there were funding issues and disagreements with his chief engineer.
I see. It must have been frustrating for Babbage to not see his vision realized. Did he give up on the idea entirely?
Not at all. In fact, this setback led him to an even more ambitious project, the analytical engine.
The analytical engine? That sounds even more complex. What was it supposed to do?
The analytical engine was Babbage's most revolutionary idea. It was designed to be a general-purpose computing machine, capable of performing a wide range of calculations and even following a program of instructions.
Wait a minute, are you saying that Babbage conceived of a programmable computer in the 19th century?
Exactly. The analytical engine incorporated many features that we associate with modern computers. It had a mill, similar to a CPU, a store, memory, and it could be programmed using punched cards, an idea Babbage borrowed from the jacquard loom used in weaving.
That's incredible! It sounds way ahead of its time. Was the analytical engine ever built?
Unfortunately, like the difference engine, The analytical engine was never completed during Babbage's lifetime. The technology of the era simply wasn't advanced enough to fully realize his vision.
That's such a shame. It must have been frustrating for Babbage to have these revolutionary ideas, but not be able to bring them to fruition.
Indeed, it was. Babbage faced numerous challenges, including skepticism from his contemporaries and difficulties in securing funding. Despite these setbacks, his ideas were groundbreaking and laid the foundation for future developments in computing.
I can imagine. It's often the case that visionaries are not fully appreciated in their own time. Did anyone recognize the potential of Babbage's ideas during his lifetime?
Yes, there were a few who saw the potential. One of the most notable was Ada Lovelace, who is often credited as the world's first computer programmer.
Ada Lovelace? I've heard that name before. Can you tell me more about her and her connection to Babbage?
Certainly. Ada Lovelace was the daughter of the famous poet Lord Byron. She was a brilliant mathematician and worked closely with Babbage on the analytical engine project.
That's interesting. How did she contribute to Babbage's work?
Lovelace translated an Italian article about the analytical engine and added her own extensive notes, which were 3 times longer than the original article. In these notes, she described how the engine could be programmed to compute Bernoulli numbers, which is considered to be the first published algorithm intended for implementation on a computer.
Wow, so she essentially wrote the first computer program before computers even existed. That's incredible. Did Lovelace and Babbage collaborate on other projects?
They had a long-standing professional relationship and correspondence. Babbage referred to her as the enchantress of numbers. While they didn't collaborate on other major projects, Lovelace's insights were invaluable in helping to explain and promote Babbage's ideas.
It's fascinating to think about these pioneers of computing working together in the 19th century. How did their work influence later developments in computer science?
Their work had a profound influence, although it wasn't immediately recognized. It wasn't until the mid-20th century, during the early days of electronic computers, that Babbage and Lovelace's contributions were fully appreciated.
That's often the case with groundbreaking ideas, isn't it? They're ahead of their time. Speaking of which, can you tell me more about how Babbage's designs compare to modern computers?
Absolutely. While Babbage's machines were mechanical rather than electronic, many of the core concepts he developed are still relevant in modern computing. For example, the idea of separating the memory, Babbage's store, from the processor, his mill, is a fundamental principle in computer architecture.
That's fascinating. Are there any other concepts from Babbage's designs that we still use today?
Yes, quite a few actually. The concept of using punched cards for input and output, which Babbage adapted from the Jacquard loom, was used in early electronic computers and persisted well into the 20th century. Also, the idea of a machine that could make decisions based on its own computations, which Babbage incorporated into the analytical engine, is a cornerstone of modern computing.
It's amazing to think how far ahead of his time Babbage was. Did he work on any other significant projects besides the difference engine and the analytical engine?
Yes, Babbage was a prolific inventor and thinker. He worked on various other projects throughout his life. For instance, he invented the pilot, also called a cowcatcher, the metal frame in front of locomotives that clears the tracks of obstacles. He also worked on projects in cryptography and even constructed a mechanical computer that could play tic-tac-toe.
A mechanical tic-tac-toe computer? That sounds intriguing. Was this related to his work on the analytical engine?
It was a separate project, but it did demonstrate Babbage's interest in machines that could make decisions based on input. The tic-tac-toe machine, which he called the machine that plays games, was able to play a perfect game of tic-tac-toe against a human opponent.
That's really impressive for the 19th century. It seems like Babbage was interested in artificial intelligence long before the term was even coined.
You're absolutely right. Babbage's ideas about machines that could make decisions and even learn were precursors to modern concepts of artificial intelligence. In fact, he speculated about the possibility of chess-playing machines, which didn't become a reality until the 20th century.
It's fascinating how many modern concepts Babbage anticipated. I'm curious, how did his contemporaries view his work? Was he recognized as a visionary in his time?
That's an interesting question, Emily. Babbage's relationship with his contemporaries was complex. While he was respected as a mathematician and had some influential supporters, many of his ideas were met with skepticism.
Why was that? Didn't people see the potential in his inventions?
Well, you have to remember the context of the time. In the early to mid-19th century, the idea of a machine that could perform complex calculations and even make decisions was almost unimaginable to most people. Many of Babbage's contemporaries simply couldn't envision the practical applications of such machines.
I see. So it was a case of his ideas being too advanced for his time?
Exactly. Additionally, Babbage had a reputation for being difficult to work with. He was known for his temper and his tendency to get into disputes with others, which didn't help his cause when trying to secure funding and support for his projects.
That's unfortunate. It sounds like Babbage faced a lot of challenges in getting his ideas recognized and implemented.
He certainly did. But despite these challenges, Babbage continued to work on his ideas throughout his life. He was incredibly persistent and believed strongly in the potential of his inventions.
That level of dedication is admirable. Did Babbage receive any recognition for his work during his lifetime?
Yes, he did receive some recognition. He was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society at the young age of 24, which was a significant honor. He also held the Lucasian Chair of Mathematics at Cambridge University from 1828 to 1839, a position once held by Isaac Newton and later by Stephen Hawking.
Those are impressive achievements. It seems like his mathematical abilities were well recognized, even if his computing ideas weren't fully appreciated.
That's right. Babbage made significant contributions to various fields of mathematics, including developing a system of notations for mathematical formulas and working on actuarial tables for life insurance calculations.
I'm curious about something, John. We've talked a lot about Babbage's technical achievements, but what was he like as a person? Do we know anything about his personal life?
That's a great question, Emily. Babbage was a complex and interesting character. He was born into a wealthy family, which allowed him to pursue his interests in mathematics and engineering. He married Georgiana Whitmore in 1814, and they had 8 children, though only 3 survived to adulthood.
That must have been difficult for him. Did his personal life influence his work in any way?
It certainly did. The loss of his wife and several of his children to illness deeply affected him. Some historians believe that these personal tragedies may have fueled his desire to create machines that could perform calculations with perfect accuracy, potentially improving fields like medicine and public health.
That's a poignant connection between his personal experiences and his work. You mentioned earlier that Babbage could be difficult to work with. Can you elaborate on that?
Certainly. Babbage was known for his strong personality and his unwillingness to compromise on his vision. He often clashed with government officials, engineers, and even his own friends over various aspects of his projects. He was also known for his campaigns against public nuisances, particularly street musicians, whom he saw as disruptive to his work.
Street musicians? That's an unexpected detail. It sounds like Babbage was quite passionate about his work environment.
Indeed he was. He even wrote a book called Street Nuisances, detailing his complaints. This kind of behavior, while perhaps understandable for a focused inventor, didn't always endear him to others.
I can imagine. It's interesting how these personal details give us a more complete picture of Babbage as a person, not just an inventor. Speaking of which, how did Babbage's work influence the development of computers in the 20th century?
That's an excellent question. While Babbage's machines were never fully realized in his lifetime, his ideas had a significant influence on later computer pioneers. For example, during World War II, Alan Turing, who is often considered the father of modern computer science, studied Babbage's work while developing early computers for code breaking.
Oh, I've heard of Alan Turing. So there's a direct line of influence from Babbage to modern computing?
Absolutely. In fact, in 1991, a fully functional difference engine was finally constructed based on Babbage's original designs, proving that his concept was sound. This sparked renewed interest in Babbage's work among computer scientists and historians.
That's fascinating. It must have been exciting to see Babbage's vision finally realized after more than a century. Are there any other ways in which Babbage's work continues to be relevant today?
Yes, there are several. Babbage's ideas about the separation of data and operations in computing are still fundamental to how we design computer architectures today. His concept of a stored program, where instructions for the computer are held in memory, is a key principle of modern computing.
It's amazing how many of Babbage's ideas are still relevant. It makes me wonder what other innovations he might have come up with if he had access to modern technology.
That's an intriguing thought. Given Babbage's innovative mindset, it's fascinating to speculate on what he might have achieved with today's resources. His work laid the groundwork for so many aspects of modern computing, from hardware architecture to programming concepts.
Speaking of programming, we mentioned Ada Lovelace earlier. Can you tell me more about how her work relates to modern programming?
Certainly. Ada Lovelace's notes on the analytical engine, which included what is considered the first algorithm designed to be processed by a machine, are often cited as the world's first computer program. Her work anticipated many concepts in computer programming, including looping, which is a fundamental concept in coding.
That's incredible. So both Babbage and Lovelace were truly pioneers in their field. It makes me wonder about the challenges they faced in communicating these complex ideas to their contemporaries.
That's a great point, Emily. Both Babbage and Lovelace faced significant challenges in explaining their ideas. Remember, this was a time before electricity was widely used, let alone electronic computers. They had to use mechanical analogies and complex mathematical explanations to convey concepts that we take for granted today.
I can see how that would be difficult. It must have required a lot of creativity to explain these novel concepts. Did Babbage write any books or papers to share his ideas?
Yes, he did. Babbage was a prolific writer. He published several books and papers throughout his life. One of his most famous works is On the Economy of Machinery and Manufactures, published in 1832. This book discussed the principles of manufacturing and is considered an important early work on operational research.
That's interesting. It sounds like Babbage's interests extended beyond just computing. Did he contribute to other fields as well?
Absolutely. Babbage made contributions to various fields. He worked on theories of natural resource management, wrote on political economy, and even dabbled in philosophy. He was truly a polymath, someone with expertise in multiple fields.
Wow, Babbage seems to have been a real Renaissance man. It's fascinating how his work touched on so many different areas. I'm curious, how did his contemporaries in these other fields view his work?
That's an insightful question, Emily. Babbage's work in fields outside of computing and mathematics was generally well received. His economic writings, for instance, were influential in their time. However, his reputation for being difficult and his obsession with his computing machines sometimes overshadowed his other contributions.
I see. It's interesting how someone can be ahead of their time in one area, but still be recognized for contributions in others. Speaking of being ahead of his time, did Babbage make any predictions about the future of technology that turned out to be accurate?
Yes, he did. Babbage had some remarkably prescient ideas about the future of technology. For example, he predicted the development of computer-generated music and graphics. He also anticipated the idea of a library of commonly used mathematical functions that could be called upon by a computer program, which is similar to the concept of software libraries we use today.
That's amazing. It's like he had a window into the future. Are there any other predictions or ideas he had that we might find surprising today?
Indeed, there are. Babbage speculated about the possibility of using punch cards not just for programming, but also for storing data, which is essentially the concept of computer memory. He also envisioned machines that could modify their own instructions, which is a precursor to the idea of self-modifying code.
That's incredible. It seems like Babbage had a really comprehensive vision of what computers could be. Did he have any ideas about how these machines might be used in society?
Absolutely. Babbage was quite forward-thinking in this regard. He believed that his machines could be used for a wide range of applications, from scientific research to business and even government operations. He even suggested that they could be used to create and analyze economic models, which is something we do extensively with computers today.
It's amazing how accurate his predictions were. It makes me wonder, why isn't Babbage more widely known outside of computer science circles?
That's a great question, Emily. There are a few reasons for this. Firstly, because Babbage's machines were never fully realized in his lifetime, his work remained largely theoretical. Secondly, the full significance of his ideas wasn't recognized until the mid-20th century when electronic computers were being developed.
I see. So it took the actual development of computers for people to realize how visionary Babbage had been?
Exactly. It's a classic case of an idea being so far ahead of its time that it's not fully appreciated until much later. However, in recent decades, there's been a growing recognition of Babbage's contributions. He's now widely acknowledged as a pioneer of computing.
That's good to hear. It's important that visionaries like Babbage get the recognition they deserve. Speaking of recognition, are there any museums or exhibitions dedicated to Babbage and his work?
Yes, there are. The Science Museum in London has a working replica of Babbage's difference engine number 2, which was completed in 1991 based on Babbage's original plans. There's also a portion of Babbage's brain preserved at the Hunterian Museum in the Royal College of Surgeons in London.
Wait, his brain is in a museum? That's quite unusual.
It is indeed. It's part of a collection of historically significant anatomical specimens. Babbage actually requested that his brain be preserved after his death for study, which shows his dedication to science even beyond his lifetime.
That's fascinating and a bit eerie at the same time. It really shows how committed he was to advancing scientific knowledge. Speaking of which, did Babbage have any notable students or disciples who carried on his work?
While Babbage didn't have direct students in the traditional sense, His ideas certainly influenced many later pioneers in computing. We've already mentioned Ada Lovelace, who was perhaps his most famous collaborator. But his work also influenced people like Percy Ludgate, an Irish accountant who independently designed an analytical engine in the early 20th century.
It's interesting to see how his ideas spread and influenced others. Did Babbage ever receive any formal recognition or awards for his work during his lifetime?
Babbage did receive some recognition, but it was mainly for his mathematical work rather than his computing designs. As we mentioned earlier, he was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society at a young age and held the prestigious Lucasian Chair of Mathematics at Cambridge. However, the true significance of his computing work wasn't fully recognized until after his death.
That seems to be a common theme with many great innovators. Their most groundbreaking ideas often aren't fully appreciated in their own time. It makes me wonder, what do you think Babbage would think of modern computers and technology if he could see them today?
That's a fascinating question to ponder, Emily. I imagine Babbage would be absolutely astounded by modern technology. The speed and complexity of today's computers far surpass anything he could have imagined. At the same time, I think he'd be pleased to see how many of his fundamental ideas about computing have been realized and expanded upon.
I agree. I think he'd be particularly impressed by things like artificial intelligence and machine learning, given his interest in machines that could make decisions.
Absolutely. I think he'd be fascinated by how we've developed machines that can not only calculate and compute, but also learn and adapt. The field of AI, in particular, seems like a natural extension of many of Babbage's ideas about intelligent machines.
It's amazing to think about the journey from Babbage's mechanical computers to today's advanced AI systems. It really puts into perspective how far we've come in terms of technology.
Indeed, it does. And yet, many of the fundamental principles that Babbage conceived are still at the core of how we design and use computers today. It's a testament to the power of his ideas and his vision.
Absolutely. It's been fascinating learning about Babbage and his contributions to computing. Is there anything else about him that you think is important for people to know?
One thing I think is worth mentioning is Babbage's perseverance. Despite facing numerous setbacks and disappointments, he never gave up on his vision. He continued to refine and develop his ideas throughout his life, even when many of his contemporaries didn't understand or appreciate them. I think that's an important lesson for anyone working on innovative or groundbreaking ideas.
That's a great point, John. Persistence and belief in one's ideas are crucial for any innovator. Babbage's story is really inspiring in that regard.
Absolutely, Emily. It's a reminder that great ideas often take time to be realized and appreciated. Babbage may not have seen his machines come to life, but his vision laid the groundwork for the digital revolution that has transformed our world.
It's quite poetic when you think about it. Babbage planted the seeds of an idea that would grow into something far beyond what he could have imagined. It makes you wonder what current ideas or technologies might have a similar impact in the future.
That's a thought-provoking question, Emily. Just as Babbage's contemporaries couldn't fully grasp the potential of his ideas, we might be surrounded by nascent technologies today that will shape the world in ways we can't yet imagine.
It's an exciting thought, and it really underscores the importance of supporting and nurturing innovative ideas, even if their full potential isn't immediately apparent.
Absolutely. Babbage's story is a powerful reminder of the value of visionary thinking and the impact it can have, even if that impact isn't felt immediately.
Well, John, this has been an incredibly enlightening conversation. I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for Charles Babbage and his contributions to the field of computing.
I'm glad you found it interesting, Emily. Babbage's story is truly fascinating, and it's always exciting to delve into the origins of technologies that have become so integral to our daily lives.
Definitely. And I think discussing historical figures like Babbage helps us appreciate the long journey of innovation that has led to our current technological landscape.
Absolutely. It also reminds us that behind every great technological advancement, there are passionate individuals with bold ideas who are willing to push the boundaries of what's possible.
Well said, John. Thank you for sharing all this information about Charles Babbage. I'm sure our listeners have learned a lot too.
It's been my pleasure, Emily. I hope our discussion has inspired our listeners to learn more about the history of computing and perhaps even pursue their own innovative ideas.
And there you have it, folks. What an incredible journey through the life and work of Charles Babbage, the father of the computer. From his early life to his groundbreaking inventions and even his quirky campaign against street musicians, we've explored the many facets of this remarkable innovator. As we've learned, Babbage's ideas were truly ahead of their time. His concepts of programmable computing machines laid the foundation for the digital revolution that has transformed our world. And while he may not have seen his inventions fully realized in his lifetime, his persistence and vision continue to inspire innovators today. Here are a few key takeaways from our discussion. 1. Babbage's difference. Engine and analytical engine were precursors to modern computers, incorporating concepts we still use today. 2. Ada Lovelace, often called the world's first computer programmer, played a crucial role in developing and promoting Babbage's ideas. 3. Many of Babbage's predictions about the future of computing have come true, showcasing his visionary thinking. 4. Babbage's work extended beyond computing, contributing to fields such as mathematics, economics, and manufacturing. 5. The story of Babbage reminds us of the importance of perseverance and belief in one's ideas, even when they're not immediately understood or appreciated. I hope this episode has given you a new appreciation for the history of computing and the brilliant minds behind it. Remember, every groundbreaking technology we use today started as an idea in someone's mind. Who knows? The next Charles Babbage might be listening to this very podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to improve your English while learning about more fascinating topics, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. Your support helps us continue to bring you engaging content that not only improves your language skills, but also broadens your knowledge. Thank you for tuning in to Speak English Fluently. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next great innovator to change the world.